makings of greatness in you. But you gotta take the helm and chart your own course. Stick to it, no matter the squalls. And when the time comes, you get the chance to really test the cut of your sails and show what you're made of. Well, I hope I'm there, catching some of the light coming off you that day.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Bucket Think Tank for another Life of Scrooge review, and we're going to get right into it with The Raider of Copper Hill. So when we last left off with this little fun story, we were in Buckaroo of the Badlands, where Scrooge hit a sort of low point in his cowboy career, but luckily came back with the help of a nice little politician, old TR, as he's called. And so he is now the manager of Myrtle Mackenzie's ranch, alright? And so here we are now, and luckily, as is customary, it is now the end of that career. Really because the Sea of Grass era has sort of come to an end here. The cattle boom was being divided into homesteads and whatnot, so effectively there was no more room for it, so Myrtle Mackenzie has to sort of end it and move his herd back to Texas. Which means, sadly, Scrooge's cowboy career is over for now. it's its own thing. But anyway, so what is Scrooge going to do now? Well, he's going to become a prospector, alright? There's gold and silver in these hills, and he's going to find it. Sadly, all he's found is copper, alright? And remember the time period here, for those of you that want to really earn your merit badges. The year being 1884. Oh, so anyway, he has dinner with a man by the name of Marcus Daly. He talks about his life. He's been a bit late to things. By the time he finally got his own riverboat, the steam engine, the train pretty much knocked that out, and he gets into the cattle industry, putting all of his time and effort into that just for it to go bust. And as soon as he starts digging around, he finds copper. It's not going to do him much. Marcus Daly himself has been trying to got some investors going to mine, the Anaconda silver mine. It wasn't silver; it was just a bunch of copper, and it just doesn't work. And it's dug really deep. It's really deep underground, so it'll take more money to dig it up. So as Scrooge goes to light up the lamp, he it's no candle. It's a glass chimney, and something's wrong with the wick. So it turns it on. Scrooge gets shocked. It turns out this is electricity. All right. Turns out, hey, electricity's coming in courtesy of Edison. And the thing is, what do they need for it? They need copper wire. So this is like, what? Copper? Bunch of Marcus is like, I'm sitting on a mountain of it. So everyone's going. Scrooge is all set to go get himself some copper in the ground. And what happens? Well, as is customary, whenever there's opportunity, big business will find a way to gouge you. To which Scrooge has no money for. So he has to sell some stuff. So all he's got on him is his great-grandfather's pocket watch, his silver teeth, and his horse. He needs the horse. Hortense is adorable and best girl. The watch is a watch, and a watch is always good. But those teeth, they're kind of creepy, as Scrooge pointed out when Uncle Jake gave it to him. So he's like, yeah, I'll sell the teeth. And so Scrooge buys a full mining outfit, and during those times, since you owned land as long as you lived on it, Scrooge decided, like, you know what? I will build me a mobile home. Pretty much what he does, alright? A little mobile house, a little shack you just travel around in. So, as he goes through, so he's digging and digging and digging. He's finding nothing. Why? Because it's not how prospecting works. You don't just pick a spot and dig and expect it all to be there. But he doesn't know what he's doing. He's just digging. Meanwhile, the Anaconda copper mine is soaring. Alright, it's soaring. It is now, as it was historically called, the richest hill on earth. So, yeah, it's not looking good for Scrooge, while meanwhile Marcus Daly's making a fortune. And so one day he's met by a gentleman. He's like, hey, is that the Anaconda copper works down there? He says, yeah, it seems a bit disheartening that there's so much there but nothing here. The man like, look, dude, it's fine, alright? You just stick to it and you'll be rich just like I was. And he's interrupted by this little brat. She's like, "Father, don't hang out with the grubby workman. You'll get the cooties." And he's like, "Johnny, I was once a grubby workman too." And Johnny goes, "Blah, blah, blah." And his wife, "Driver, keep going. Take us back to the hotel. My husband wants to mess with the rabble." And as he watches them go off, he's like, "My son Johnny has a problem that a nice little horsewhip would cure." Ah, well. So he's like, hold on, you used to be a prospector? Alright. And he says, "Yes, my name's Howard Rockerduck. Stuck it rich in the gold rush of 49. And he's like, "I'm Scrooge McDuck, and I'm going to get rich too." And Howard goes, "I don't see how. Judging by them ore streaks, you're digging in the wrong direction, and you swing that pick like a school marm." Scrooge's like, he's like, "I'm sorry, you think you can do better, you old coot?" I'm like, Sir, for 2 cents, I'd get down there and show you a thing or two." And so, 2 cents an hour later, Howard proves it. Like, yep, he's like, Scrooge is impressed, like, "I can't believe it. Oh, dude, just had to learn some of the secrets, alright?" And so, they see the copper vein. Scrooge points out it's pretty thin. As Howard looks up, he says, "Must be part of that same vein there." Alright, pointing to the Anaconda copper words. And he's like, "Fella, good, that does me." Alright, it's only like this big here, and it's like wider over there. Ugh, nothing. So Howard's like, hang on, I got something to teach you. So as they go into town, Scrooge is greeted by the townsfolk, like, "Hey, Scroogey, how you doing, Scrooge? Hey, yo, Scroogey, what it do?" And Howard's like, "Oh, everyone here sure is nice." and Scrooge's like, "Sure, everyone here, everywhere, is nice and generous to a fault." And Howard's like, "We'll see about that." How the appraiser go like, "Hey, so your sample tested positive for the same amount, same copper as Anaconda." And all Scrooge's thinking about, okay, that'll get me a cup of. Howard's like, "No, shut up and come with me." And the townsfolk are like, "Oh, that rich guy giving Scrooge trouble? Whatever you're saying, we'll vouch for you, Scroogey." And they go to the courthouse, and he's like, "Judge, we need a ruling, all right?" He says, "So this man here, he has his land. The Anaconda copper vein is only 5 feet deep on his land. All right?" And just like, what does that matter? Like, dude, don't you remember the Apex Law of 1849? Whoever owns the land where the vein is closest to the surface owns the entire vein. Scrooge McDuck owns the entire Anaconda copper mine. This actually happened in history. All right? To the Anaconda copper mine. So Scrooge is freaking out. Okay, so I'm good. Like, no, dude. No, so here's the problem, alright? So you have to be the only one on that land as a sole owner. When the judge makes that ruling, who's ever up there gets it. And all the nice, generous friends of Scrooge are like, hold on. Who's ever on Scrooge's house gets the Anaconda copper mine. I don't know who Scrooge is. Alright, so they go. Scrooge's like, okay, fine. So Scrooge goes off. He's like, get the jump on him. And this leads to the beginning of a scrap. And meanwhile, as Howard takes the judge on of his law books to find, so he can find the ruling, is on his way there. The judge apparently reading Uncle Angus, aka Pothole McDuck's dime novels. Apparently, a big joke there is Uncle Pothole has a stupid nephew that has to be rescued. But whatever. Meanwhile, what's going on in Scrooge Land? Well, he engaged those people, and okay, hang on. We got to talk about exactly how this goes here. In that moment, several dozen of Butte's meanest miners, cowpokes, tanners, waddies, and various sundry ne'er-do-wells are learning they're no match for the last of Clem McDuck. Not when he's mad. He's throwing people into people, throwing crates of dynamite in the dude's chin. He's probably dead. He's kicking a mine cart which knocks out 3 people and runs over one dude's foot. That foot is gone. I want to point out, alright, the dude he's swinging is hitting one dude with a shovel, hitting another dude, who hit another dude, who hit another dude. Alright? Look, bottom right, that man is picking up his teeth. Alright? I'd have been like, no, he wants it more. He wants it more than I do. Alright? But anyway, so, Stick of dynamite later, an explosion, and long story short, Scrooge is the last man conscious and standing, so he's now been granted the Anaconda Copper Mine, legally, as it is. And so what happens? Well, as Marcus Daly comes out, Howard goes, Marcus, guess what? This man just sees legal rights to our copper mine. And Scrooge's like, what? You helped me. Not help. You pretty much took me in the direction of taking your copper mine. Like, nah, dude, it's fine. I'm rich enough, and it'll do my son John good to, inherit some non-earned wealth. Like, to just not have that in his life. Mark's like, look, no. See, we're going to get that overturned, but we got to find the right politician to bribe. So how about you just save me the trouble? I'll give you a check for $10,000 right now. All right? And Scrooge says, no, it's tempting, but no. I think I finally got toehold in my dream. And Howard's like, good, let's go get the paperwork filed. As Scrooge goes to town, it turns out everyone that was his friend doesn't like him anymore because he's rich now. All right? And she's like, well, you're rich, son. All right? Get used to it. You'll have their respect, but never their love. And Scrooge's like, who needs it? I'll have money. And Howard is sort of like, hope I wasn't wrong about you, son. And that's an interesting sort of thing. Howard has really, we'll come back to that later. We'll come back to it later. Because it's all interrupted by a telegram. Delivery boy. Like, hey, you know what? Telegram for the rich, miserable Scrooge McDuck. And he's like, you know what? You ain't getting a tip. Telegram for the rich, miserable, stingy Scrooge McDuck. And before he can keep going, it's a message from his father. All right, says, dude, son, you need to come back. Calcium McDuck is in danger. All right, come here, bring as much money as you can. And she was like, oh, fine. It's not fair. And Howard says, but it seems your family needs you. And he's like, tell Marcus I'll take the money. As he goes off defeated. As he comes by, as Scrooge walks off, though, Johnny comes in like, Father, are you still associating with that flea-bitten mongrel? And Howard gives him a look. Next thing we know, Johnny's gone to the hardware store. And you're like, so, your father sent you to get you a horsewhip? You're like, and you better speed it up. He's a rich man. I'm like, he about to beat that boy. And I'm kind of here for it because he's so terrible. He's so terrible. But anyway. So, Scrooge heads back to Scotland. He's sort of like, 5 years in America and $10,000 to show for it. Not bad. And Scrooge sort of reflects on his time here. Like, you know what? He's not done yet. He's learning. He's in a land of opportunity. And if he's just a little bit quicker sometimes, he'll be good. If he gain experiences, this young country's a good example of where a poor Glasgow boy can almost become owner of the richest hill on earth. All right? How this place, there needs to be a monument to people who can make it on their own terms and whatnot. They call it a Statue of Opportunity or Square Deals or something like that. Scrooge being totally unaware of the Statue of Liberty being built behind him. As you do, and that's how the comic ends. So, before we go into how we feel about the story overall, let's go with some fun bits of lore, as Rosa tends to do. So again, as we've noticed so far, a lot of what we see in the life of Scrooge comes from, at least spiritually, in most cases, from the story of Poor Old Man. Scrooge mentions this dollar from 1882 coin he got in Montana where he punched cows while he looked for a homestead. Talked about when he decided to become a prospector. And Rosa even took those same images and, did them in his own style to sort of help lend credence to that scene, to the whole story. The selling of the gold teeth is mentioned in the Horseradish Mystery, which to buy his prospecting gear. So there's that. And of course, if anyone ever read Back to the Klondike, where Scrooge puts the hurt on everybody in the blackjack ballroom, Rosa decided to do his own take on it, and also really great. Also remember that in Back to the Klondike, that Scrooge is older than this one. So that's interesting in itself. For those of you that don't know, while Howard Rockerduck is not part of any Bart stories, his son Johnny is John Rockerduck. Yes, it's a joke off John Rockefeller. And Rockefeller was introduced by Barks in the story, what, Boat or Busted? Busted Boat? One of those two. And Rockerduck is a sort of new money, which puts him at odds with Scrooge. Rockerduck is old money, and Scrooge is nouveau riche, new money. Yeah, to prove I learned things from the Vox Remarks podcast. I'm going to use that word. So we see a sort of cultural divide between them too. You know, Rockerduck, someone who inherited his wealth, while Scrooge, someone who earned it, as well as the fact that Scrooge was maybe, let's see here, he left home at 13, and in this story said he'd been there 5 years, so he's 18 now. And Rockerduck couldn't have been more than, what, maybe 10? Like, he couldn't have been less. He was probably the same age. He couldn't have been younger than 10. At least I think going by the image there. Rosa mentions that he did make Rockerduck younger than Scrooge here, which I think works. Selling the idea that, you know, he's never had to work for the money. Overall, we see Rockerduck in mostly Italian comics outside of that one. He doesn't get a lot of traction in the U.S. or the West. In Italy, though, he gets a lot of... Italy is in the West. But, you know, in Italy, he's very popular. He sort of takes the place of Flintlock Glumgold in that aspect. And he showed up in D17 for, honestly, just to be another comic relief villain. Like, he doesn't really have any weird sort of back and forth with Scrooge in this one. Like, there's a story, but it just isn't that interesting. Really, they could have just used Mark Beeks for that, and I hate Mark Beeks. But you know what? Still would have been something. Overall, The Raider of Copper Hill is a fun story. What I like about it is we sort of see Scrooge adopt a different kind of mentor. And it's in a similar vein to Uncle Pothole. But I think it a bit different, because Pothole really just has a job. Or well, when Scrooge meets him, he has a job. He's making a decent living as a riverboat captain, and he's alright with that. Scrooge wants to go higher than that. Myrtle Mackenzie is also from Scotland, and he's a businessman. He takes an interest in Scrooge's work ethic and rewards him for it, so Scrooge has managerial experience then. But I think with Howard was the first one who possibly saw a bit of himself in Scrooge. Like, no, this young man is coming here, and he wants to work to achieve greatness. That was me. That was me, and I want to invest in that. Really, he wants to adopt Scrooge. He really does. Like, he sees Johnny, and like, I need to beat that child. Like, I needs to do it for his own good. But I think he's sort of, like, how will you mind? And it's sort of like he definitely, I'm pretty sure he loves Johnny. He does love his son. But I think he was hoping for someone with a bit more of his fire. Instead, he's this sort of coddled, pampered child. And even his wife doesn't seem to really respect the person he is. So it's interesting because Howard is new money, technically. That money is inherited, but his wife and child are. So you can compare this to Downton Abbey and Rosamund and her husband, Marmaduke? What's his name? Actually, Marmaduke? That is such a stupid name. But Lord Painswick, as he was called. New title and whatnot. So my guess is, like Marmaduke, he married into a wealthy family. Alright, having already been wealthy, so the title was new, and we go from there. Same thing with Cora marrying into Robert's family. Alright, new money, marrying old money. In this case, Howard married some old lady who's probably a wealthy debutante from a well-known family, old money as well, and she doesn't get that. She doesn't understand him. Alright? But it was a marriage of convenience, and Howard probably is bored of that. He probably is just, as much as he likes his success, he's like, you know what? I remember how hard I had to work. I remember it, and I wouldn't trade any of it for the world. That's why he's like, hey, you know what? It is what it is. I've made my fortune. I invested in this, and if I can help this young man here achieve greatness when he's willing to work his butt off for it, I'm more than willing to lose out on the Anaconda Copper Mine because I'm still rich, and he's worth the investment. And also the sort of feeling he gets when he tells Scrooge, like, yeah, you'll have their respect, but never their love. And he sort of sees a moment where Scrooge doesn't seem to care about love, or at least the love of the common man. And Howard sort of misses that. He misses having friends. He misses the old days when, you know, it was just him and the dirt and, you know, the just, you know, the work and that simple life. All right, and he's hoping he's not wrong about Scrooge, and that is something we'll see here later on. Sort of the descent of Scrooge's personality, or sort of the loss of sort of that joy, the loss of the common man, the loss of Scrooge's appreciation for people. Here he says people everywhere are kind and generous to a fault. We're going to watch that slowly fade away. Okay, slowly is not going to be the right way. There's going to be one story where it's just gone. But that's sort of an interesting way that Rosa wants to tell this. It's not just a series of events, it's the growth of Scrooge as a person. We're going to see character progression, character regression, and it's why I said this story helped elevate Scrooge to be one of, if not the, well, he's definitely one of the greatest characters in fiction, but this story here, in my mind, makes Scrooge the greatest Disney character ever. Disney toon, anyway. For like the entirety of Disney, that's a whole other question. And even then, I'd still put him in at least the top 5. Maybe he's still number 1, but that's neither here nor there. So anyway, that was The Raider of Copper Hill. What'd you think? Did you like it? Did you hate it? What's your favorite moment? I think we all know what my favorite moment is. All right, these straight hands. All right, just straight like this. Dude's legit picking up his teeth. All right, as well as the fact of Scrooge and Redux back and forth. Like when he talks about, you swing that pick like a school mom. You think you can do better, old man? Like, son, I'm about to embarrass you. All right? And he does. And even better, Scrooge's like, that is so cool. And Howard's like, yeah, man, I can teach you so much. And this is going to be it. What I would say, Uncle Pothole taught him a degree of business sense as well as a skill. All right? Myrtle McKenzie taught him pretty much how to be a manager. To an extent, because he was put in charge of the Montana territory, the ranch, and Scrooge definitely got some experience from that. But here he found someone who's generally interested in his progression in him. Scrooge didn't ask for a job from Howard. He was asking for help from Uncle Pothole, like to help seek his fortune. He was asking for a job from Myrtle McKenzie. Howard was like, I want to invest in this kid. And he did, and it was fun. So anyway, with that, mine brings to a close here. If you're new to the Bug, thank you. Feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe. What's your favorite part of the Raider of Copper Hill? Leave that down in the comment section. I'll catch you all later. This is Bug Think Tank signing off. Thanks for watching. As always, may your fandom serve you well.